Hey, what's going on? It's aarava here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 2018 career mode, episode number 24 today for the Chinese Grand Prix in Season 2. If you guys did miss the previous one, then go check that out before you see this one at the Bahrain Grand Prix. Good episode there. It's been a fantastic start to the season as a whole, and China was a really great episode for us in Season 1, and so I think in Season 2, it can be equally so and even better. But going into Shanghai then, the only team that's improved their car is Sauber there at the bottom with the maroon line there. They've got ahead of Williams now. They were just about ahead of Toro Rosso by the time they got to Australia off the back of Season 1, and they continue to make progress there here at China, but everyone else has stayed put. Obviously, we didn't have any upgrades, but no one else has. I think, obviously, especially for the top teams, all of us have probably got to a point of the R&D chart where the only upgrades we have left are a lot of major and ultimate upgrades. There are a few minors here and there, for me personally. Don't know about the AI, but we're getting to that point where now it's taking a few more races for all of us to upgrade, and so it's going to be a bit of a longer slog than it was in Season 1, which I kind of like. It's going to mean that maybe things are a little bit more stable for our sake in terms of we can try and do well here and build upon that with momentum. But let's get straight into qualifying then for the Chinese Grand Prix on a Saturday.
We'd like to welcome you from wherever in the world you join us today for this F1 qualifying session here in Shanghai, China. And as we wait, poised for the start of what will hopefully be a thrilling qualifying, why don't you tell us, Anthony Davidson, about the things you can do to really get the most out of a car in a session like this?
Well, you're largely limited by the Parc Fermé regulations, of course. Back in the old days, pre-2004, you'd work on both a qualifying setup and a race setup over practice, and then swap them over after qualifying. So the race car was quite different at times to the qualifying car. Nowadays, though, you have to find a compromise that works for both. There are a few things that you can still adjust during the session, such as the differential, the brake bias and the front wing angle, but that's about it. So it's more about optimising what you do have and adapting your own style to suit the track conditions.
So like I stated, Season 1 was really good for us here around Shanghai, and I think here with an even better car now, we could go one better. Obviously the strategy played into it quite a lot in Season 1, but I think even qualifying wise we could do a lot better, and the car was feeling really good around practice, and then in Q1 across the line it's going to be a pretty easy job for us to get into Q2, and you can see myself and Magnussen very closely matched in Q1. So obviously so far this season I've been a little bit off the pace in all qualifying sessions, but particularly Q1 Magnussen's been always right up there and I haven't, whereas now in Q1 we're so close, just behind Sebastian Vettel. So bodes well then into Q2 that we can do a good job. And like I said, with the strategy, obviously last season we pulled off a really good one-stop around China by stretching the ultra soft tyres, which is the fastest compound available. Here at Shanghai it's very weird, they jump 2 sets from ultra all the way to soft tyre. They skip out the super soft and then go to medium. So because of that big gulf, the one-stop is quite powerful, but we had to stretch ultras last season because I got into Q3 not knowing that that was a strategy I could pull off, but now I do, and now crucially we probably have a car that's fast enough here around China to pull off this strategy of now going and qualifying on the soft tyre, which is a big gamble here because of that 2-step difference. It's not like I'm qualifying on super soft, which is just one compound down. This is 2 compounds down from ultra soft, so trying to get into Q3 is going to be a big arse, but like I said, the car now in theory is good enough, and around Shanghai, unlike Bahrain, Australia, the car is genuinely performing as it should be. You know, on paper we're the best team, and right now at the moment it is performing really well because we go across the line, it's P7 right now ahead of Sebastian Vettel, who's also trying to qualify on soft tyres. Lewis Hamilton, I believe, is also trying that strategy. He's not even in the top 10 yet. I don't think he's set his lap time yet, but as we fast forward through this session then, I think Hamilton will eventually get through, and it's going to be me and Vettel and Hamilton that get through. Actually, not even Vettel. Vettel had to bolt and go onto ultra soft tyres. So the only 2 that got through into Q3 on soft tyres were myself and Lewis Hamilton. You can see Fernando Alonso, I'll highlight him. He did not get into Q3, but quite cheekily, he ends up in P11. Obviously, the best position you could hope for to get a free choice of tyres. So I expect Alonso, you know, last year he got it up into P4 in this race. So I suspect from P11 there, and with an improved McLaren, Alonso might be a good bet for the race on a free choice of tyres. But myself and Hamilton are the only cars in the top 10 that managed to get in on soft tyres. So now we go to ultra softs. We just try and go as flat as we can, try and get high up the grid as we can, knowing now we've set ourselves up for a really good race strategy here along with Hamilton. So I think both of us are going to have a good advantage against our rivals this season. And Hamilton's obviously not had the great first 2 races. The reigning world champion from season 1, he's not had the best time so far in season 2. Obviously, we've had some very consistent results, but I've been nowhere near the win yet. Where, well, now with this strategy, I truly believe we could be on to try and challenge for the win. It really just depends on our grid starting position. At the moment, we're down in P5 as I start my second flying lap then. So P5 wouldn't be bad, I'll take that. But at the moment, Magnussen's ahead of us, so I feel like we can find some time to improve. And if we can start, you know, at least in the top 5 here, where we are right now, that'd be great. Because, you know, we lost a lot of time in Bahrain and also Australia in traffic, overtaking cars from when we got knocked out in Q2 both times. Whereas now, we're already in Q3, but if I can do even better, go one better and go even better into the top 5 of this top 10 shootout, it means I'm not going to lose time at the start of this race. And added on to the 1 stop, it's going to add into being a really good chance for us to actually finally get this 1 race win, this first race win of our career, the one that Magnussen, my teammate, already has over me from the Monaco Grand Prix last season. At the moment, you can see we found some time over our previous flying lap there, going to the hairpin, still up just about. It's our last lap time, obviously. We've done 2, so that's pretty much the maximum we could have hoped for. At the moment, Verstappen has got ahead of us, so we're down to P6 now as we go towards the line. And what is this going to be across the line? And it's going to be P3 at the Chinese Grand Prix. That is absolutely awesome. On the grid, second row alongside Kimi Raikkonen. You can see Magnussen down in P5, about 2/10 off there, pretty much the same gap from Vettel to Raikkonen, so he's done a pretty good job as well. And so to see both the Haas cars for the first time now in the top 5 on legitimate pace here in Q3 is really great, because like I said, it was a little bit of a worry, to be honest, to see our car on paper be the fastest, but then we were just nowhere in qualifying. Even Magnussen, who got into Q3 twice, Australia and Bahrain, wasn't really anywhere in the last top 10 shootout, but now to see both of us having some really good pace here bodes well for the race. I'm looking forward to it now. Let's get into Sunday.
Ever since the Sauber of Felipe Massa passed Jenson Button into turn 1 at the very first Chinese Grand Prix in 2004, Shanghai has consistently provided close racing and extraordinary memories. It's where Lewis Hamilton effectively lost the title in his rookie year, and it's where Nico Rosberg claimed Mercedes' first win of the modern era in 2012. We're here in the Yangtze River Delta today, home of the 16 corners that make up the Shanghai International Circuit. 54% of this 3.3-mile lap is taken at full throttle, and we'll be getting up to speeds of around 200 miles an hour, with DRS assisting the cars down the back straight before they brake into the sharp hairpin at turn 14. Anthony Davidson joins me again for the race today. Let's talk briefly about Kimi Raikkonen. As ever, the threat of unreliability is never far away, and indeed they'll be starting out of position today due to a power unit component change. So it's going to be a difficult task to move forward from there.
Everyone has to deal with penalties or reliability issues from time to time throughout their career. You just have to suck up the pain and get on with the job at hand. Today isn't about performing a miracle to put the car back where it should be. It's about effective damage limitation.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Sebastian Vettel has a clear track ahead of him today. He starts in pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have the engineer, Magnussen, Max Verstappen and Ricciardo, Bottas, Hülkenberg, Van Dorn and Fernando Alonso, Leclerc, Perez, Esteban Ocon and Raikkonen. They've taken a grid penalty. Ericsson, Gasly, Brendan Hartley and Sergei Sorokin. Stroll and Carlos Sainz starts from the back of the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
So some good news even before the race has begun. Kimi Raikkonen has been handed a grid penalty then, so Magnussen is now on the second row with us in P4. So it's an all-Haas second row behind Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. So that is a very tasty prospect. And you can see here is our one-stop, soft tire to the medium. Of course, it seems pretty crazy now, the fact that we extended the ultra softs long enough last year to make the one-stop work, considering look how tiny that ultra soft stint looks on the second row there with the two-stop. But yeah, that's what we're doing on the first row. I imagine Sebastian Vettel and even Magnussen will be forced to do a two-stop. So really, I think maybe the battle's between myself and Lewis Hamilton potentially, which is pretty crazy to say, but I'm ready for it. And I think, like I say, this is the best bet I think we have. Not only getting another podium, but dare I say, even the race win. But we have to make sure we do the job, and that, begins with the start of this race. So let's get into it then, and let's head towards those 5 red lights here at Shanghai for round number 3 of Season 2. From P3 on the grid, I can see Sebastian Vettel right ahead of me, Lewis Hamilton to my right as we go to 5 red lights. The Chinese Grand Prix then here in Shanghai. The lights go out and we're underway, and it's a good start for myself and Hamilton, and equally so Kevin Magnussen, who storms down my inside there. We nearly banged tyres. Vettel's had a slow one off pole position. Hamilton on the slower compounded tyres is down the inside of the German. Magnussen's down my inside as we go into turns 2. Hamilton trying to go the long way around. We're equally trying to go down the inside of Magnussen to keep this position, but Vettel's managed to get the elbows out and has maintained P1. We just about stay ahead of Magnussen for P3, but he's still alongside me there. He's got half his car alongside, and into the next corner, end of sector 1. It's a bad lock up there, double lock up for us, and so we've gone deep, nearly complete off circuit, and so we drop down to P4 behind our teammate, just ahead of the 2 Red Bull cars, Ricciardo and Verstappen fighting away. I'm just checking the tyre temperatures, a little bit hot on the front right tyre, so that was a really bad mistake there for myself. Double lock up, I don't really know what that was really. I think Magnussen, I was pressurised by Magnussen being down the inside, so I wanted to brake as late as possible to make sure I kept P3, but in doing so, I went way too hot with the heavy fuel, and I was about to smash into the back of Hamilton as well, so kind of thankful I locked up there and just managed to just about avoid the rear end of Hamilton. I think I made just a tiny bit of contact, but it wasn't enough to bring up on the FI flag there. But at the moment, it's Vettel then from Hamilton, Magnussen, myself. The 2 Red Bulls are still fighting. I think Ricciardo has had to fall behind Verstappen for now, but he might come back with some slipstream here. It's a fireworks show down this main straight, and then just behind them is also Fernando Alonso trying to overtake that Renault. You can see Fernando Alonso, remember, in P11 he qualified, so he has a free choice as well. So compared to the rest of the top 10, apart from myself and Hamilton then, Alonso might be fancying to overtake all these guys with some strategy work, just like he did in Season 1, as he's still neck and neck with that Renault, and the 2 Red Bulls are still fighting hammer and tongue. You can see, I think that's Ricciardo on the middle there, Verstappen on the outside. Look at that, it's nearly 3 wide as Bottas has come out of nowhere then. Bottas tries to go down the inside of both Red Bull cars, and it's 3 wide for most of that corner until it just becomes a 2-way fight between 1 Red Bull and Bottas then, and I think that's the Red Bull of Daniel Ricciardo, yeah, so Verstappen falls behind, and there goes Bottas now on the right hand side. It's a big dive. It's effectively the opposite of what happened in real life. Ricciardo was the one that overtook Bottas down the inside there in the real life Chinese Grand Prix in 2018. Bottas tries around the outside, doesn't work out though. Ricciardo keeps that P5 for now, but there is Fernando Alonso then closing up on Max Verstappen. He's already overtaken the Renault, and so that will be him up into, what's that, I think, so P5, 6, 7, 8, I think 9 already for Fernando Alonso. So good work there by the Spaniard to already get up the order before we even kind of talk about the strategy play. But going from behind us to ahead of us now, Magnussen there through the swooping right-hander before we get to the back straight. He's looking maybe to size up a move on Lewis Hamilton here. Remember, Magnussen and Vettel both on ultra-soft tyres, along with the rest of the top 10 really, so that should be an advantage at this stage of the Grand Prix, with better grip and better purchase into the tarmac surface. And here he goes, no DRS here, it's just a pure straight line pass. This will be for K-Mag. Here he goes, a dive bomb down the inside of Hamilton. Hamilton is going to try and defend it on the outside there, but this is for P2 at the Chinese Grand Prix there, and Magnussen might try and go the long way around then to the last corner. They're going to hold each other up, and so that's going to invite us, but K-Mag still is going to try and fire Hamilton then probably into turn 1, and so let's try and see if we can maybe catch Hamilton napping, or even our teammate maybe into turns 1 and 2. But Dane's down the inside of turn 1, so can we try and follow him through maybe? If he pushes Hamilton off wide enough, you can see we're gaining into the next curve then. Hamilton oh so close, left front to his rear right, and we just about managed to escape around the outside. We're just about on track still, and we managed to pull ahead, and somehow we're up into P3 now. Magnussen P2, but Hamilton's going to try and force a move, so we go very aggressively to the inside to try and defend this line. Hamilton's got the extra momentum so far, and I've not found the traction quite yet. We're low ERS, trying to save the battery for the back straight if we need it, and Hamilton's getting very, very bargy there into the S section, the left and then the right, but we remain ahead, and we are going to keep P3 for now. So to Haas 2-3, and now Magnussen, maybe for our sake, can hopefully try and chase after Sebastian Vettel. But pretty much now, in the running order of the one-stoppers, I'm now leading the way at Hamilton, and the only other person trying the one-stop is Fernando Alonso. So the rest of these guys all going to make an extra pit stop. So if things pan out at the moment, we should be looking pretty damn good. But it's about if we can stay ahead of Hamilton here. There was a reason why I went low ERS, is to bump it up into overtake mode now, deploy the electrical energy down the main straight. You can see there with Rich Mix as well, we've waltzed away from Hamilton, and that's not going to be any issue. Even with DRS activated on this lap, Hamilton unable to get anywhere near us there. And actually, he's got the Red Bull car nearer to him than he is to me. But now up ahead, Vettel still leads the way into the last corner on those ultra soft tyres, and Magnussen is going to come in for his first pit stop. So we saw Magnussen making an early pit stop at Bahrain as well. So I don't know, maybe, I don't know if our teammate is suffering from bad tyre wear. I don't know, our car is not bad on tyre wear. It's been pretty damn decent over the course of Season 1, but our teammate pit early last race. He's pitting early this race. I mean, Vettel comes in now on lap 4, so maybe it just is those horrendous ultra soft tyres that are that bad. But I mean, still, Magnussen only going 3 laps. That's quite short, really, if you think about it in the context of a 28-lap race. But we now get the lead of the Chinese Grand Prix ahead of Hamilton, and look at that, surprise, surprise, what did I say? Fernando Alonso in 3rd place then in his McLaren. So it's 1, 2, 3, all of us doing 1 stops, and that's how it is in the race order at the moment there. So Alonso, yet again, like Season 1, is going to try and get up. The only difference is this time round, I'm on the same strategy as Alonso was in Season 1, and also this time round, the Haas car I'm driving is a lot better than the one we had there relative to the McLaren this time round last year in Season 1. But Vettel comes out behind Kevin Magnussen then in the pit stop. So I was questioning Magnussen's early stop, but to be fair to K-Mag, he's made the undercut work, and now he's ahead. The German, but he might have something to say about it. DRS open then for the Ferrari, and down the inside he'll go. Did a bit of a fake to the left there, and then to the right. Very odd to see an AI car try a fake move there, but down the inside he goes, the hairpin. Magnussen tries to keep on the outside, but no use. Vettel is ahead in the Ferrari, but both these guys, and pretty much the entire top 10, apart from obviously the 3 cars we mentioned, have to get through this traffic now. Up ahead you've got that train of the Toro Rosso, the Williams, the Renault there. You can see the other Toro Rosso as well, and then also the Saubers as well, of Marcus Ericsson and Leclerc. And then after those, there's a bit of a gap then to the Force Indias, and then you've got this man, Fernando Alonso. So it's quite a few cars to get to, and then a bit of room to get to Fernando Alonso. And then up ahead is obviously Hamilton, and then myself still doing the job here in P2 and then P1 respectively. But speaking about Fernando Alonso, he might fancy making a move actually on Lewis Hamilton. Look at this, the McLaren, the 3rd best engine on the grid, remember, in Season 2. And so with DRS, Alonso, I can't quite believe I'm saying it, but he has the straight line speed to overtake Hamilton, or try to overtake him. Around the outside he goes of the hairpin into the last corner. He's ahead up into 2nd place. So I don't know if the Mercedes car is suffering from some tyre wear maybe, or that just the pace in the McLaren now is coming through in the race, unlike qualifying. But Hamilton actually comes back then in, so this is a mega fight between Hamilton and Alonso, a fight we haven't seen for a while in real life F1. Of course, we got this same similar fight in Season 1 here between the two, but I think this time round it's a lot fairer of a fight now, because that McLaren car is so much better relative to the Mercedes car. I mean, a lot closer to performance-wise, I should say, compared to when they fought in Season 1. So maybe Alonso has a fighting chance. But saying that though, Hamilton comes in actually. Alonso continues on for 1 more lap here, as well as me as well. So Hamilton comes in earliest out of us 3 then doing this 1 stop. So me and Alonso have a bit of tyre wear potentially on these soft tyres, but Hamilton is in. Let's see where he comes out actually in terms of the traffic then. Where is Vettel and Magnussen and all of this? So there is Vettel's actually waltzed away from Magnussen. I was a little bit surprised to say where on earth Magnussen was there, but he's way back actually now. But Hamilton now comes out, and he'll be behind Magnussen of course, but I think he's also going to be in a bit of traffic potentially with some other cars. But Vettel and Magnussen have their own traffic of their own. Vettel trying to overtake the Sauber and then the Renault before you get to the 2 Force Indias. There is Alonso, and then there we are coming through the S section. Eventually by the end of that lap, on lap 11, we will be coming in for our pit stop then. Can't go any further, or at least my engineer has pulled me in. I want to try and get an undercut maybe, or not obviously on anyone, just trying to keep the pace basically, keep the gap that I have to Hamilton and Alonso. Alonso goes on though for 1 more lap, so the McLaren really trying to stretch those tyres then this afternoon. But on lap 12 we're in for medium tyres, and that'll be to the end of the Grand Prix. They're going to feel pretty cold out the pit lane, but it's just about easing in there, and like we did last season, just nice and easy into turn 1, all these long prolonged corners. Try and just kind of find the groove and coast through these corners, try and take these tyres as long as we can, keep them fresh for the end. You never know, we're going to have a fight. But there is Magnussen then up ahead of us, so as expected he comes out ahead of us, but eventually he'll have to make another pit stop and we'll continue to the end, and that'll be fine and dandy. But behind us there is Hamilton then in traffic of his teammate Valtteri Bottas actually, and also then you've got the Williams car. So Hamilton is going to have his hands full here, and I think Alonso might have played this quite well, because Alonso got re-overtaken by Hamilton, but now Alonso's been out in clean air, and now as he comes in, Hamilton's been stuck in that traffic. So I think maybe McLaren and Alonso played that well. They maybe saw Hamilton was in that traffic and kind of on purpose kept Fernando Alonso out for one more lap. So as Alonso comes out, he is ahead of Hamilton. There goes Bottas, and then is Hamilton. So Alonso's got a buffer then, not even just ahead of Hamilton. He's got one car in between him and Hamilton. And so Alonso, effectively, that will be P2 in the Grand Prix, you would say, once all the two stoppers make their second stop. So it's going to be myself, Alonso, and then Hamilton, or should it be in theory? Obviously, you never know with the AI. Something could happen. I don't know even if the safety car comes out, we're all screwed. But in theory, once these guys make their pit stops, we're going to be in a very good position. But as we move on then towards lap 14, we've got a bit of a radio message.
We're expecting rain in around 10 to 15 minutes.
Yep, you heard that correctly. Rain is forecast in about 10 to 15 minutes. And at the time, I was taken aback, so surprised, because on the radar before the race weekend, there was no rain forecast for this race. So I had to kind of ask again a second time around to get confirmation.
Rain is forecast in just over 10 minutes time. Rain in 10 minutes. Dries seem like the best tyre for now.
Yeah, there you go. Apparently there will be some rain on the way in about 10 minutes time, apparently, according to Jeff there. So 10 minutes, obviously it's a 1:30-ish lap time, 1.5 minutes. So I was thinking the worst, kind of, okay, so in 5, 6, 7 laps maybe there's going to be some rain. So that would be just about towards the end of the Grand Prix. As we're getting to the last kind of final laps, there could be some rain. So I'm getting flashbacks back to Mexico, where it started raining and I went onto Inters and had to fight back here. I don't know if it's going to be exactly like that, but Magnussen is in now on lap 14, halfway through this Grand Prix, and so he's got no signs of trying to readjust maybe for a potential rain, but he's in for that second stop. And so we've gone fastest and purple. We nearly go completely off though into turn 1 because I'm pushing so hard, because effectively I got scared after that radio message. I decided to start pushing hard just to catch up to these guys, just in case I get screwed over by the rain. I need to make a bit of a gap now to all these guys, not just Hamilton and Alonso behind me, but also these guys, even though they're pitting, make an even bigger gap to that, just in case I get caught out in the rain. So we close up to Sebastian Vettel here into the hairpin, practically pushing him through the hairpin at this stage with his tyre wear quite high on 16. But we move on to lap 17. He doesn't come in through the last corner, so we might actually have a chance to actually overtake him on track here with DRS there. We've got low fuel, but we're going to go to rich mix anyway. High on the ERS, down the inside, fade to the left, go to the inside there. Aggressive move into turn 1. Vettel tries to keep on the outside, but it's going to be no use. Our tyres are going to be much fresher than his mid-corner. We just have the grip. We squeeze him out, look behind us to make sure, and we're up into P1 even before he makes his pit stop. So that doubly felt really nice to actually overtake him on track, albeit obviously he's got a lot of tyre wear, but still. And with the undercut that Magnussen got there, obviously Magnussen pit 2 laps earlier, Magnussen gets ahead of Vettel for the second time now in this race. So now it's a question of if Magnussen this time round can keep Vettel at bay. The Force India there you can see is a lot closer to those guys, so they've managed to jump the traffic they had to overtake before in the first stint already. So now the only guys they've got to overtake, it looks like, are the Force Indias. Before then they have a lot of clean air before they get to Alonso, Hamilton and myself. But still, obviously Vettel was able to, very easily re-overtake Magnussen. So let's see if K-Mag can keep it ahead this time with a good work our team has done on trying to get him an undercut. But there is Alonso then in second place, ahead of Hamilton still. And there we are going through that long right-hander in first place. And now it's just a case of controlling our pace, controlling the race, and then I guess just seeing when this rain comes and reacting to that if we need to. But here goes K-Mag then later in this Grand Prix, I think a lap or two later, or maybe even on that same lap, Magnussen overtakes. It's going to be Ocon there down the inside. He's got Perez next up. He's going to squeeze Ocon out, and then him and Vettel will dispatch of Ocon. And this is now a couple of laps later, and you can see the clouds are descending at Shanghai. It's very overcast now, and Vettel is trying it again on the outside of the hairpin this time, but it's a double lock up there for the German, and Magnussen stays ahead crucially, so that's really good to see. Magnussen does stay ahead of the Ferrari, both of them closing up to Sergio Perez, the last car they overtake before they've got a lot of clean air to then Hamilton, Alonso and myself. And so here comes Magnussen and Vettel. They might both be able to overtake Perez, to be honest, in a straight line here, but it's definitely looking very, very gloomy here, very overcast. So the rain that my engineer said is supposedly coming, I think it's definitely on the way. It's just about how heavy it is. Is it going to be heavy enough like Mexico where we have to come in or is it enough where we can stay out to the end of the Grand Prix? Either way, Magnussen's past the Force India, the second Force India of Sergio Perez. Vettel doesn't get him though, so that'll give Magnussen a good buffer. Eventually though, as you would imagine, Vettel is going to close up on the Force India. DRS open for him. We had a bit of a weird camera angle last time. This time around you can see a much better view of that overtake made there for Vettel. Walters pass, and so he's through, and he can now try and get back on the job of chasing after K-Mag. But to be fair, I think right now the way it's looking, K-Mag looks to have the kind of, you know, measure of Vettel. I think at the moment he's got it under control now on those tyres rather than the second stint. And speaking about having it under control, Alonso at the moment is doing a great job to still be ahead of Hamilton in second place. Although saying that, Hamilton now is looking dangerously close within DRS. So now that might have just been the commentator's curse, because I think now Hamilton might have a really good run on Alonso here as we look back on that lovely on board through the halo shot. And here comes Hamilton absolutely flying there at a rate of knots on the left hand side. Round the outside this will be on Alonso, and Hamilton will get Alonso. He's back up into second place. Alonso down to P3, back to our POV as we go on towards the last lap of the Grand Prix this is. So we've flown through the Grand Prix now, and it's the last lap. You can see it's so overcast, and it's actually raining at the moment. You can see the spits of rain on top of the halo and the chassis, so it might be a little bit damp, but it's not going to be enough to go into inters, of course. We just go to the end now, but tiptoe around. Don't want to make any brash acceleration moves, so I just need to keep it on the black stuff, really, and make sure I bring this home, because at the moment, we are indeed actually still in first place. I can't quite believe it, and it's going to be a sweet, sweet feeling, but we just have to get through this last part of the action. You can see they're going a little bit deep and under braking, just very, very cautious. You know, one more lap, and it would have definitely been time for intermediates, but here we come then through the last corner. Magnussen's had a win last season at Monaco, and now it's our turn at the Chinese Grand Prix. It's going to be first place and our first win of our F1 2018 career mode.
Yes, you've done it. Well done.
It was a tough race at times, but they've held on to take a great victory for Haas. And I have to wonder, Anthony Davidson, just what set them apart from the competition here.
The difference was clearly in the strategy. You could tell they'd done a lot of work on the pit wall to really optimise each stint and get the most out of the tyres. And it highlights just how much of a team sport this really is. But credit to the driver as well though. There's no good having a well-oiled machine behind the scenes without a talented hand on the wheel, of course.
Our drivers are making their way out for the podium celebrations, and it's going to be Haas picking up the winner's trophy. Congratulations to the entire team for coming out on top in that amazing Grand Prix.
Absolute textbook race there for us at the Chinese Grand Prix. Did the one stop to perfection, soft to medium tyres. But fair play to Hamilton and Alonso. You can see there how well that strategy worked for me and Hamilton to qualify on soft tyres into Q3. And then what did I say? Fernando Alonso, he got P4 last season, P3 this year. By that kind of standard, seasons 3 and 4, he might be on the top step of the podium by season 4 on the McLaren if he pulls off the one stop there. But from P11 to P3, a great job and great drive by Fernando Alonso. But Magnussen also got P4, remember, ahead of Vettel. He did really well because he effectively won the second race that was going on, because there was one race between the one stoppers and then there was a second race between all the two stoppers. So Magnussen technically won that kind of secondary race with all the two stoppers. So Magnussen did equally really, really well there. But it means in the Drivers' Championship, we now lead the way by 3 points to Hamilton. Vettel's down to P3, then Magnussen stays put in P4, but amazing consistency, obviously, for us in rounds 1 and 2. And that means also for the team, we still lead the Constructors, and look at the margin we now have to Ferrari and Mercedes. Obviously, it's very early days, but still, and McLaren and Renault are still ahead of Red Bull Racing. Red Bull have been nowhere, so that durability regulation change, I think it's meant a lot for Red Bull. I think Red Bull must have done a lot of upgrades on durability last season. They've lost it all in the regulation change because they're nowhere. They're really floundering this season, but it's now time for that sweet, sweet interview after our first win.
Good day today. Tell us about it from your perspective. You really looked in control of your car out there. Your team must be thrilled.
Obviously, I think in this kind of moment, got to stay a little bit humble and also, praise the team. You couldn't have done it without them. They gave me that car to actually set up that one stop and do that, as it was. So, going to compliment the team there on the right.
You're leading the championship. Are you happy to be there or feeling the pressure?
So I think I'm quite cliche when it comes to championship fights. I take it very race by race. I always maintain that. So we're going to go with the right-hand side answer. No race is the same, so we've got a lot of work to do still to continue.
You took the top points today. Was it a comfortable win?
It was a pretty comfortable win, so I'm going to go with the right-hand side answer. Say it was comfortable, I could push the car, and it didn't have any kind of issues. I thought maybe that would, boost the rep of the team, but actually boosted the durability then of the department, actually.
Well, looks like your luck has changed. Things went a lot better than last weekend, didn't they?
I didn't really know what to answer with this because Claire mentioned luck, but I didn't think there was any luck involved here. But I'm just going to go ahead and say we made some tweaks to the chassis, praise that side of the department as well, because obviously that's our best department on the car, actually.
Appreciate your time.
And so with that is going to be the interview done, and we can start to wrap up this amazing Chinese Grand Prix episode there. We can see we are now really quite some way ahead of Magnus in the teammate fight there, so we can actually afford maybe for him to beat us maybe next race, but that's fine, looking good. We could actually get that third one under our belt, and we are beating Fernando Alonso, but you can see actually the fight's a lot closer with Alonso there, so we still have work to do with Fernando, but still looking good in terms of both left and right. We're looking green there, at least, so unlike at the beginning of last season where I was getting my arse handed to me by Magnus, and we're now a lot more comfortable with the car there, and the reputation is going up and up and up with Haas and also the rest of the teams, but looking really good. We've got good morale on durability, chassis, and even the aero there, so looking very, very good. But now, with the points we've got enough points to do this major engine update, and like I said, I feel like that's where we need to develop with, even just this one development. I think we're going to look really good, because aero-wise, we're in the top 3, so we're not horrendous. Chassis, obviously, we've got the best, so I think with a good engine under us, I think that's going to just help us everywhere. Obviously, aero will help us everywhere as well, but I think right now what we need is some straight line speed, just some oomph maybe for qualifying, and also those overtakes maybe later in in later episodes maybe to help us out there. And so with this major update, we might just go to the top of the engine chart, or might just level peg there with, I think that's Ferrari at the top there. So that's going to come in for the Spanish Grand Prix. So I'll take 2 races. The next one's Baku, remember. So we'll go level pegging, it looks like, with Mercedes there once we get that upgrade at Spain. So obviously quite fitting actually the start of the European season basically. But what a great episode this has been at Shanghai then, guys. So if you have enjoyed the episode, hit that like button, let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. But that is our first win in F1 2018 career mode, and hopefully not our last this season. But I'm Aarava, hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.